I would like to welcome to our stage, and please join me as I give a warm welcome to our moderator, Tess Hau, founder of Tess Ventures. Guys, please, a warm welcome. Thank you so much. And joining her will be Marcus Muller-Habig, Sector Enablement Director of Abu Dhabi Gaming, Ashesh Shah, Chief Commercial Officer at VERO Labs Incorporated and Board Member of Reactor, Jasper Hu, Principal Solutions Architect at PingCAP, and Joseph van Heeswijk, CEO of 2 Games Esports. Guys, it's gonna be a cracker. Enjoy.
Well, we will have an exciting panel discussion with our distinguished guests here. I'll first introduce myself. I'm Tess Hau, founder of Tess Ventures, a Silicon Valley venture capital fund. We've been investing over the last decade, and we've definitely have a great portfolio of gaming companies, as well as machine learning, which you now know as artificial intelligence, and across many different sectors, blockchain, and I think what's most exciting is we invest globally. So we've been in the region, in this Middle East region, especially in UAE, and have been very excited with the growth and the potential and the energy here. So very excited today to be here. Now I will ask our panel to all each introduce themselves. Then I'll be asking them different questions that the audience has shared interest in learning about, and we will have an exciting discussion. Thank you. I will first introduce Marco, and our sector enabler director of Abu Dhabi Gaming. Welcome, Marco.
Thank you. So my name is Marcos. I am the Sector Enablement Director for Abu Dhabi Gaming. Start off by just asking a question. Who knows about Abu Dhabi Gaming? Oh, good. Okay, we have some people here. Okay, fantastic. They don't count. They're part of the team, so they have to know, right? So just FYI. But no, so Abu Dhabi Gaming's whole idea is to kind of build a gaming industry within Abu Dhabi and help diversify the economy. And so I look after anything that is related to talent development, as well as community engagement and esports for Abu Dhabi Gaming. So anything, any of those that you guys have any questions on, I'm always around. Feel free to ask. And we have a booth right there with our wonderful team that are manning it. If you have any questions around moving your company to Abu Dhabi, establishing yourselves, growing yourselves in Abu Dhabi, that's the wonderful team right there. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Marcos. Now, next, I will ask Ashesh Shah, Chief Commercial Officer at VERO Labs and board member at Reactor. Let's give him a round of applause.
Pleasure to see everyone here. I serve as a founder CEO of the London Fund, but one of our portfolio companies we just invested in is so compelling that I've taken on the position of Chief Commercial Officer at VERO. It's the world's first neo-investment banking platform, changing sort of the dynamics on how you bring capital to bear, especially for things in the gaming industry as well as IP and other areas. As part of that transaction, VERO just took a position in Reactor. Those of you who've heard of it, Reactor is the creator of the next Star Wars game that's coming out next year. So AAA gaming studio with the largest independent AAA gaming studio in America. And I now sit on the board. And I think there's some really exciting things happening in the sector over time. So love to get to know everyone.
Thank you. Next, I'll introduce Jasper Hui, Principal Solution Architect, PingCAP. Thank you.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Jasper, the Principal Solution Architect from PingCAP. So PingCAP is a company behind TiDB. Have you heard about TiDB? It's a distributed database, and we serve game studios across the world, like North America, Europe, Asia, and Middle East also. So my work is help our customers to fix their backend limits, to help them to foster their innovation. And I think right now, gaming and entertainment are entering to the new area. So I'm so glad to be here to discuss with you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Joseph Heeswijk, CEO of 2Game Esports. Let's welcome him.
Hi everyone, my name's Joseph van Heeswijk. I've been in the gaming industry for 20 years, and within the last 2 years I took on a new position, which was CEO of 2Game Latin America. We had a very good success. I guess a lot of you know Blas, who came second in the EWC, and I've been really involved in developing talent in the region. We also qualified for the Valorant franchise in our first year. So yeah, I've taken on this whole region, and we're into esports, and we have our online store, and we're also very heavily involved in the entertainment industry, so reviewing games and creating a lot of content for the gaming industry.
Thank you. Now, we're going to start off with some questions for our special guests here. Let me first ask Marcos. Abu Dhabi is rapidly positioning itself as a global gaming hub. What strategy is underpinning this momentum?
Thank you. So the strategy of what we're trying to do is really around having the biggest contribution to the GDP possible come from gaming. And the way that's done is by building an ecosystem and building an industry, right? So you create talent that go to work into companies that are attracted here, and then those companies produce products that are purchased by a community, a consumer, right? And the idea behind that is if we do our jobs well, as one of our colleagues rightly put it, we don't have a job at all in 5 years. And that's kind of the goal, right? You want it to be sustainable, and you don't want the government to be consistently investing in something when really it can be driven by the community and organically done. So that's our goal. The objective really is to kind of make sure that the industries have a great way to operate here, have an industry here. Really, the objective for us is, all of our studios should be $100 million plus, right? That's the real of what we want, because that's what really helps what we do. And so for us, it's really not about like, do we invest in a studio to come back and get a return? No, not at all. My return is actually looking at it from a macroeconomic standpoint. It is you invest, you may give a subsidy to a studio or support or a grant, and that studio turns around and 10x is that in terms of their revenue. That's a 10x return for me, because we are Abu Dhabi. We are thinking macroeconomically. So I think that's really important, where a lot of people are kind of questioning, like, what does Abu Dhabi get out of it? Well, we get you guys. We get the talent. We get the studio. We get the people that are here that are living, in a very nice standard of living, of being in Abu Dhabi, and that's what's really important to us. It's making sure that the work is done here, that we have, wins come from Abu Dhabi. I think it's very easy for a lot of people to look at the region and see the region as capital intensive without recognizing the rabid fan base that the region has. People here love games. They love to game, right? It is, from a per capita standpoint, people here game almost more than anywhere else. And the per capita spend is also much higher than anywhere else. And so this is one of those places where when people kind of start recognizing that, wow, there are fans here, like we can actually get people that really love this stuff. That's when it kind of changes the conversation away from just, it's just capital, or, it's just an economic or a government decision. No. It's driven by the community. The community loves it. It's just a matter of making sure that we have everyone kind of understanding what we do. And that comes with awareness as well. The more people that understand what's being created in Abu Dhabi, the more likely they are to want to go after it. And then you have these stories that you can tell. Right, like everybody loves Wukong, but imagine if that was told from a story from the region, right, from the GCC. I think it would be fantastic, and it would be a way to kind of preserve that cultural heritage. So those are some of the things that we're trying to kind of maintain. But now for you, I want to ask a question back to you, which was a great idea of the producer of the panel. So from your side on the Silicon Valley stuff that you're focused on, what do you see as kind of emerging that could really be disruptive to the way things are done? And I know I'm gonna throw a curveball in it. I'm gonna take AI off the table, because I think everybody wants to talk. Everybody's talking about AI. Everybody's talking about, like, it'll be the next development thing. I'm gonna take that off the table. What else are you seeing that you see as truly disruptive to the gaming business?
Well, that's a toughie. You did throw me a curveball. At Tess Venture, we do have about 300 portfolios, and we invest, across the globe. I would say yes. While AI has, made gaming interesting, development time quicker, a lot more new players entering the market. At the end of the day, I truly believe good old-fashioned fundamentals in gaming is the key. We've invested in companies, especially I would say in the last 2 years, that we believe there's a thesis which I'm sure you all agree. It's not really about just product innovation anymore. It's really about distribution innovation. It's about the engagement, the community. And we've been fortunate that we've discovered founders who built game studios that actually already had an existing community. And we think that is very precious. So they were able to do a couple of things that was quite unique. One, raise from their community. That helped solve the co-start problem. And I actually did invite him to come speak as well, so we can all learn about his company, and he'll be here at the next event. The company themselves have tested and launched with their own community, and the numbers are looking very good. They get immediate feedback, and the funding from outside investors has been very, very receptive. So that itself was an amazing, pleasant surprise for our team, with the fact of how fast the momentum, the pace, and the team has executed. So Sham, Simon, Dan, they are the founders behind Fateless Scotchford, and it's been an incredible journey to see a company prove that they have found distribution innovation. So I do feel moving forward, and as others have been looking at gaming investments, that is first and foremost what we're looking at with the different technologies, such as what you mentioned, all the different, speed of AI and everything else has allowed a lot more entrepreneurs to enter the gaming industry. However, are all the games going to have the results that investors want or what community wants? It's not, unfortunately. So I think truly looking at the numbers and the background of the team is key. And these founders always had been supporting the gaming ecosystem, and their own community requested, and their input was for a game for this group to develop. Very excited to see where this goes, and looking for more. Thank you for that question, Marcos. So the next question I would like to ask is to Ashesh. Given your experience managing multi-billion-dollar portfolios, where do you see the most undervalued investment opportunities emerging in gaming, immersive tech, and digital IP over the next 2 to 3 years?
I think that one of the interesting shifts that's going to happen over the next few years is really tied back to the community message that you put forward. I think that there are independent studios that have been trying to figure out how to get bigger. They're trying to figure out how to bring in funding. One of the investments that we made as the London Fund and now sit as a part of is a company called VERO Labs. VERO owns Tokenize. We have the ability to drive not only a social component, social loyalty, where you could prove that you're one of the most avid fans of, let's call it an IP or a function, and we could allow you to then turn that into access to being able to invest. So globally regulated, we have a platform that's something that allows anyone from anywhere in the world to do it. We're the first regulated stock exchange at ADGM. So again, Abu Dhabi doing something very special here. But what we're finding is now these undervalued, these companies or studios that may have struggled or gone to publishers, they're going to change their tone because they are now going to be able to access capital that they couldn't get to at a much lower WACC, weighted average cost of capital. And I think that's a big shift. We saw that happen actually even on something the likes of Reactor, AAA gaming studio, 4 years in producing with Lucas and EA, and if you could now unlock the power of their fandom, you're talking 500 million, 1.25 billion Star Wars fans. I mean, literally 1 in 4 humans is a Star Wars acknowledged human being, but in their world, you could now change it. So I think there'll be opportunity for new types of IP, new types of games and studios that are no longer looking at just capital from big publishing houses. That's going to probably cause a little bit of a stir with the EA transaction that just happened. And I think it's also going to shift how venture really collaborates with the community, because venture is no longer going to just be something that could come in, own that trajectory. I mean, I managed many funds over the years, and one of the things I always found is that if you can't start to use some of these buzzwords and really mean them, like cooperative and be able to go in and be founder first and all these things that we used to wax lyrical about from the 90s onwards. I always make a bad joke that I'm not just OG, I'm just O at this point, but I've seen a lot of this stuff, and one of the things that I find interesting is that when we look at this, we have to evolve as a venture firm. It kind of allows me to flip the question back to you as well, which is, where do you see these capital flows going? Outside sort of the AI side. Again, I also agree that there's enough hype between hardware and AI and LLMs, and you hear my podcast, I think I do a pretty interesting conversation about why I just think they're superstition and hallucination tied together. But where do you see the capital flow changing? Where do you see the direction of how venture interacts? You have a fairly large portfolio. You guys have been extremely active in some amazing companies. I mean, there's Figure from the robotics side. There's some other things. Where do you see things going?
That's an excellent question, and thank you. Just speaking from the perspective of the gaming companies, we've invested in a gaming platform, Animoca, and they've recently in the news, Yatsu was here speaking yesterday. We've invested very early, and at that time when we invested, the company did not look like how they look like now. They've recently expanded their exposure by also, getting more resources from Wall Street. And I think what they see is the remaining players that is going to be in gaming that will be relevant. Some of these will be able to support each other. So Animoca also does investment into gaming companies, and that was an organic addition. They supported a lot of the IPs, and they also expanded globally. That hand in hand as an investor, we were also expanding globally, and we also help our portfolios expand globally and tap into access of capital. So what has been interesting, I think, across the board is tapping into Wall Street, not just private, investment capital. That has been one of the trends that we've been seeing amongst a lot of our portfolios and requests from different investors. What I think also is interesting, obviously, is VR and AR and mixed R. So we do see the development of so much of these motion capture devices maturing, having more functions and the ability of powering the gaming experience. So I think investment into hardware will be interesting. It used to not be sexy because of the intense capital, but I think we're going to see this shift. Our team, we're a team of 10 with global exposure. We've with different backgrounds. We definitely are excited. Yes, to your point, especially on the robotic side. But the robotic side is always going to have human in the loop. And if you go back to it, gaming is very relevant here because when robots are developing, you need humans to train. And training humans is like gamification, playing games. So I think there's going to be a lot of different intersections of hybrid situations that are going to come out. And at Tess Venture, we're prepared and ready with our different theses, eyes wide open, very open-minded to see what type of companies will come out, such as in the last 10 years, blockchain companies have evolved, NFTs came out. So we're always first to be at that frontier and hope to support and back the best founders that will also look in this area and push it forward. So thank you for that question. Now my next question will lead to Jasper Hau. From the perspective of rapid data growth, how do you see the current development trends and key challenges in the gaming industry?
Yeah, when we talk about the trends, I think we should back to what games are really about. So I think it's experience. So as I can see, the first trend is real-time everything. Now the games are fully real-time. Players want real-time interaction, and also the teams want to get the data insight from the real-time change data. So real-time is the first trend, I think. And the second one is AI. AI plus data to driving new contents. So things like specialized ideas and dynamic stories, and also AI-generated content, they are very interesting and attract the players to win, right? And obviously, the challenges is very clear. First, when the huge growth data makes real time very expensive. So a lot of people, a lot of teams build their system for small data, but when the big data become big, they struggle. Yeah, so it's difficult for them to scale. Maybe from the beginning, they just choose a simple and quickly stack. But when the DAU reach to a huge amount, like tens of millions, it's very difficult to maintain. And the second challenge is I can see is backend architecture complexity is a big trouble at a large scale. If the system cannot scale smoothly, the business will be limited. So that's what I can see for the trends and the challenges. Back to you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, Joseph, we're seeing global hit games come from unexpected places like Black Myth, Wukong from China, and Nine Kings from Brazil. What does that say about how global the industry has become?
I'm so glad you guys are talking a lot about communities, because it's a very key metric for me as well when I'm looking at what to invest in, especially in esports. And now working in Latin America, I'm looking at all of the development studios over there as well. So I think what's changing now is just we don't know where the next big game will come from. And I think the key thing for me, again, with communities, is looking at like Black Myth. It's like it could adapt to other communities globally, and that is why it was so successful. Nine Kings as well, it could adapt to an international community. So I think that's really it for me. It's just how like it's so exciting, really, because you just don't know where the next big hit will come from. And it makes our job, for me anyway, a lot more fun, because we have to, look at so many markets as well. And I think, so what my question for you would be on this front would be like, so I'm looking always at like communities in terms of what games have done well. I'm also looking at a lot of like YouTube metrics, like how popular are these types of games in this region when looking to invest. What do you look for in particular in terms of these, and how do you measure these communities when looking to invest?
Another excellent question. My first and foremost answer is it's about the team. And at Tess Ventures, we always say we look for that Avenger team, the team that has the domain expertise, but the complementary skill set. The players that come together that they have each other's back and they cover the skills and can bring on, the tribe that they need for their specific department. Anyone that has pre-existing team members, teammates, access to this will speed up the process of working together as a team, iteration, and the feedback loop. So, of course, repeat founders that have started gaming companies, even if it failed, we've backed, because these founders, their mistakes, their experience, or even their failures compounds, and compounding effect is priceless. I've always operated like that. Same with my team. The partners on the team, the request was they would have been founders, and they are, and ideally have raised VC capital, and our team, most have. That way they can identify these great gaming companies, these great gaming studios, these great teams, and invest and help them, and not speak from a theoretical, conceptual, abstract way. So that's basically one of the core theses around this. And of course, the team needs to be developing something that's timely to what the market needs, and not build and hope they will come. I personally would like to see that they can identify where they think the outcome would be, and then reverse engineer from that. And then who you need on the team, how to raise these funds, which strategic investors to go to. And that's always very interesting. Now, with the resources that Middle East is sharing in the last year, in the last few years, we've been coming to the region, over the last 4 years, very excited to see the different progress as it evolved, and to see the amazing teams and leaders that here in UAE have put together. I'm very happy to support this. We ourselves have shared with our gaming portfolios and other portfolios to also come and explore Middle East and access all the resources, learn from what they have to offer, but more importantly, to contribute what our US teams or Chinese team, who have had the privilege to have so much resources, to come here and also to share their knowledge and skill set and do that knowledge transfer. So we've just been excited to bridge that as well as investors. So thank you for asking that question. Now, the next question will go back to Marcos. What gaps or opportunities do you see in the MENA region's gaming economy that global investors often overlook?
What gaps that global investors often overlook? I think the passion of the people around here for sure. But I also think in general, there's a huge overlooking of talent. I think there's a lot of talent here that may not be at a very senior level, but there's a hungry talent here that is ready to go with a little bit of mentoring, potentially a little bit of upskilling, a little bit of reskilling. And I think that's something that's consistently overlooked, where people are like, oh, well, we need people with, 10 years of gaming experience. And I think that's usually the wrong approach in hiring. I think what we need to do is look into people who are hungry and willing to learn, and have, let's say, complementary skill sets, whether their background is STEM or CS or whatever. And then we should be willing as a company to kind of bring them through this journey and making sure that they can contribute. And I think that's usually what's most overlooked, right? People come here and they're like, okay, we need people with 10 years Unity experience. It's like, sure, you can bring those here, but you need one of those, and then you need 10 other people that are willing to kind of join the journey and get on board and work with it. I think that's probably consistently overlooked. And I think number two would be, there are very passionate people here that need just to understand kind of the direction. I always think of game development specifically as like a bit of an apprenticeship, right? It's not so much academic, it's more about learning from those who have come before you and being able to share that knowledge and be willing to share that knowledge and have that knowledge transfer be done. I think it's a bit of an investment that has to happen in the region to be able to get the returns down the road. And that's where I really see that companies tend to overlook. They tend to misunderstand the work that needs to be done kind of upfront, but they also misunderstand how much the return would be if they actually did that. Right? They're just looking to say, well, is everything ready? Is the ecosystem ready? Do we have the talent that I could have anywhere else? And it's like, no, probably not. But if you're willing to invest a little bit into it, you would get much more than what you think. And so I think that's probably the one where most people tend to just, I would say, discount the region as like, oh, it's too young, or, oh, we're not there yet. No, I think it's there. I think it's more a matter of, companies have to be willing to take that chance.
I agree. Now, Ashesh, from your vantage point at VERO Labs and Reactor, how do you see regulated financial infrastructure and fan ownership reshaping how games and digital IP are financed, especially compared with more speculative token models that we've seen in the past?
I think that one of the interesting things about gaming is that gaming and blockchain and Web3 and sort of the passion of community always runs into it. I keep bringing that word up. Back in late 90s, we acquired a company and grew that to being the 25th largest in the world on the internet. We used to call them ASPs at the time, but we had about 25 million monthly active in 99. Just perspective, it was about 8% of the internet. And one of the things we always knew, and we could see it through Meta and the rest, is that community matters. Founder of VERO that we invested in, then really joined in full time, was that Sheikh Ayman Hariri really saw something I think others couldn't fathom. They couldn't realize that you don't need a place like Instagram or TikTok or the rest of which all ad driven. What you want are passionate individuals who might actually want access in an ad-free environment, but that they're willing to pay for it. I always joke, and it's a little strange, but I say it's like OnlyFans, but with more clothes on it. Now, if you could actually provide a place in a community where, let's call it the 1%, the super fans, can actually walk in to a place, they pay their $5 a month or whatever it might be, and now they can unlock the ability to play a game earlier. They get to drop a skin and access. They get their own skin. Maybe they get their own access. That changes the game completely. VERO hit 7 million registered. They've got an active community, but for the last 5 years, it's been completely secret. 28 billion records later, what's happened is that we now introduced the fact that we are actually this fully regulated global investment banking platform. And that means that we could launch full securitized, full securities on a global basis, so that now the fan could go in and instead of fighting for IPOs and figuring out how do I get allocation, I could say, hey, I've unlocked these following things. We were just speaking with the Wukong folks, and we were saying, wouldn't it be great if you could show what rare items you've gotten, if you could show what you've done, and that cred got you more allocation of shares. That got you somewhere else. Now, when you couple that with private equity venture, we came up with a model called PEP, mostly because I like strange names, and instead of PPP, we thought it's private equity public partnership. This allows venture and private equity to come in quickly. They could start the process, and they can exit to the fans. The fans still get an upside. They hold stability. This doesn't become meme coin-like, because if you own a piece of a Star Wars game, you own a piece of a Wheel of Time game, you own a piece of a game that has the Immortal Universe from Anne Rice, and you're passionate, you're not going anywhere. And this hybridized model, we believe, is the future. It changes fundamentally access to capital, even to the level of AAA games in the hundreds of millions that you need to deploy. But it definitely makes indies a whole different world. We've got a second company that we're probably going to end up on the board of. I didn't expect to be on the board of a lot of gaming companies, but this was another 100 million plus game launch around Wheel of Time. And when you think about it, this is an asset that was on Amazon. This is an asset with 100 million books sold. People are super passionate. I don't know if there are any Wheel of Time fans here, but if you know that genre, imagine trying to raise that capital and what a publisher would have taken. We think this is going to shatter the old methodology. I mean, we're not pressing CDs anymore. So it's a big difference.
Excellent. Now, Jasper, as the global player base continues to expand, what do you think is the most commonly overlooked technical investment risk for gaming companies?
Yeah, in my work with big game studios, I find that one thing maybe a lot of teams underestimate, that's the the data infrastructure, long-term cost. Many games start up from very small system. Maybe they can survive at 1 million DAU, but when the DAU reaches to tens of millions, they cannot handle. So it's a scalable data infrastructure can help the companies to operate their games, and it can let the game company to under system smooth without any architecture change, like launching a new online massive online game, or handle a sudden traffic from a big IP, or you can make a quick real-time decision for critical operations. So the infrastructure for support the game traffic is important, and that's what I can see many teams ignore. And TiDB is a distributed database, so a lot of our customers came to us to migrate their data to TiDB. Based on this kind of distributed architecture, we can scale the data volume, we can support massive traffic, we can make the maintenance much easier. So that's what I can see, yeah.
Excellent. Now, Joseph, what prompted you into entering esports?
So I've always been a huge football fan, Arsenal. So I've always loved the competitive aspect of just everything, really. And I think esports, for me, and especially in Latin America, was really about giving a opportunity to teams and players that maybe wouldn't get that. So with Valorant, we had a team that they were barely a team, and when we took them, we gave them minimal kind of backing. We gave them an office, a place to stay. We kept the team together, and just doing this, we gave them also a boot camp in Germany. So just put in a very little bit of investment in. We won, and we qualified for the franchise in our first year. So that really gave me insight into what a little bit of investment can do. And like what you said, Tess, it's about people who really want the project and can really receive the money and use it very well. So I think that was a great point. And I just became addicted with it. And it's like I'm all the time having to turn down teams now because I want more and more. So yeah. But yeah, that was it really. And I saw how it was quite new for me. And I just saw how it was growing and growing. And this region in particular has done such a fantastic job in bringing esports and treating it as how it deserves, really, because they put in so much work, these athletes, and I think they really deserve the recognition that they're finally getting now. So that was it, really, for me, for esports.
Well, congratulations on the success. That's an amazing journey. Marcos, what criteria does Abu Dhabi Gaming prioritize when supporting or enabling high-growth international companies entering the region?
So I think this is where we're a little bit kind of agnostic. We work with all different kinds of companies that have impact in the gaming industry. So I don't think it's any specific type of company that we look at. I think some of the things that we really appreciate and we're really looking at is kind of revenue recognition, making sure that revenue is recognized within Abu Dhabi to have an impact in Abu Dhabi. I think we're looking at kind of jobs, growth, success of the company. I think those are all things that really matter when we're looking to see that the company is growing. There's potential. They want to have a base here, and that's also very important. They want to be here, right? I think it's very interesting. There's a lot of companies that may be out looking for support, and we have a lot of I would say friendly competition within the region where there is a lot of support from different governments. Especially in the GCC, everybody is trying to create their own ecosystem. But I think for us, what we're really looking at is kind of a commitment, right? We want a partnership. We want people that want to bring their company here to have impact, not just in the region, but to allow their company to grow because they see the benefit of the market. it's a two-way street. It's not about like what can you do for me or what can we do for you. I think it's more like how do we grow together? How does Abu Dhabi grow? Do you see yourself hiring talent from here? Do you see yourself mentoring talent? Do you see yourself, committing to the region rather than just kind of the benefits that come with it? And that's why we also try to offer, ancillary benefits that aren't necessarily directly related to direct monetary incentives, because we believe that would be kind of the difference maker, right? If you're looking for money, there's money everywhere. It's more like what do you see out of Abu Dhabi that allows you to want to be here? And we've had great success stories of great companies that are here. Right now we're at around 125 companies. We have companies here that are our partners. That I saw one recently. We have Challenger Mode right there that just came down. Those guys have killed it for the past 10 years, and now they're here with us, which is exactly what we want to see. These are established companies. They have success. They have a market, and they're coming here because they see the benefit of the region. They see the ability to expand their market. That's really important because it's not about like, oh, we want to go there in order for our business to survive. No, we want to go to see our business thrive. And I think that's really, really cool where we have people that are passionate and recognizing exactly what this region offers, more so than just capital.
That's an excellent comprehensive answer. So for all of you, those who are thinking about expanding here or looking for more resources, I think Marcos has shared, something that is very important that we all take away and take action. Now, on that note, one of my portfolios that we have been trying to expand into the Middle East region, I think we will also like them to also focus a bit more on Abu Dhabi. Shrapnel is partnering with the Chinese government. We've helped them expand to Middle East, into China, on publishing the nation's first Web3 game in China with government support. By putting rights on China's trusted copyright chain, Chinese nationals can trade skins in a compliant government-approved manner for the first time in history. This unlocks a huge economic opportunity in China, and China also wants to tie real-world assets to gaming. In-game, you could fight and earn a can of Coke and have it instantly delivered to you. Shrapnel also positioned in the future through the Chinese government as a game for the official Olympic Esports. So we've been expanding them in Middle East, in China. This is a US company. And I think it's very important for the relevant gaming companies to go and look global. Of course, you have to have the right resources. You need to focus on one region first and then see if it's relevant in different markets. And that's where I think strategic advisors, investors can help with. So the next focus is to have them focus on Abu Dhabi, and hopefully, we'll see more collaborations in that area too. So the next question that I have will be for Ashesh. As someone who has built and scaled multiple companies to IPO, what core signals do you look for when evaluating whether a gaming or entertainment venture has true long-term scalability?
I think it really comes down to, we say this in venture all the time, right? I teach this in a class at Williams College, and one of the things I've always said is, it's team, 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 and team. But when you dig deeper, I think there's some things about the technology as well. Are they thinking about this from the ground up? Are they saying, hey, I'm a full stack developer, I used AI and I made an app and it looks really cool? Or are they really sitting down and saying, if I'm getting to 1 million daily active, 10 million, 2 million, 5 million, do I have in-game mechanics? Do I have activities that make sense? To me, fundamentally, each of the studios that we look at, I have to either decide, are they a service center? Are they a film production company, so to speak? Or are they truly building mechanics? Do they change rendering? Do they think about in-game mechanic storage? Do they have proprietary inter-game activities? I overheard someone asking, could you actually, on the last panel or last interview, can you actually grab a gun from one, carry it forward through wallet into the next game? Are you just armed? Do you have a skin that moves with you? When you start to think of these kind of dynamics, and I can see that in the team, I start to believe that you've got a thesis. If you look at the likes of, again, and I'll just use Star Wars because everyone kind of knows how Star Wars thinks. They do movies, unless it's Solo. they usually do movies in threes. And these movies operate because they interconnect. Harry Potter, you think of a journey along the way. So character development, game mechanics, tech development, all of these things really matter, and it's the team that has to think about it. The other part that I add, and I will state that this is something that cannot be underestimated. What we're finding is that too much of the gaming industry has become tech and creative, which is great, and then people are fleecing them. I mean, I genuinely was shocked that the kind of economics game studios get, not really from venture, I think you guys are nicer, but when you think about the kind of economics they receive, it's heartbreaking. They barely have a CFO. They may not understand how that works. They have no idea what's going on. You've got a creative director building some amazing stuff. And then, when I walked in, I always say, look, I've been a lifetime CTO, public and private, lots of patents, lots of other nonsense. But what I learned is when I went to the dark side, as I call it, our side test, sorry. But when we went to the dark side, someone said to me, what happened? I said, oh my God, they add zeros to everything we did. Like, we did this and they had like 2 more zeros in how much they made and what they did. And I said, I got to go back. I've seen the other side. I'm going to come back and help the entrepreneur. And I think the gaming industry really needs to think when they're building a company, build this company the way we would build any other fully loaded venture firm. So venture-backed entity.
Well said. I echo this and feel tremendously similar, because that's where I say the complementary team is important. Yes, you need the core gaming talent that will be the core team, but to Ashesh's point, the financial controller who can help the team understand is crucial, because gaming is already such a fun, whimsical, it's about playful, it's about what will be addictive, and it's easy to overspend. And that's where, to your point, when you say heartbreaking, it is, because the team was so talented, but the cost measure was not controlled. And it's oftentimes hard, because for those who need to think from a keep it fun side, wouldn't really want to sit back and think about the cost control, because that's not fun. So you have to bring in a team member that will be there to help you oversee and guide. And I think that is the big difference of teams that can succeed and not. And to the point of all the companies I mentioned, these are teams that have that cost control there and have been able to keep pushing forward and develop. Mind you, even having that, it is still hard, because the market changes and sentiment changes. So you also have to have, someone also checking on the pulse of what's happening on the market on a global scale, and also timing of when the market is good, you also need to go do that funding round or, do that push. So I think always just being open and understanding what's happening, is the key. So the next question I have is for Jasper. In your view, how will AI affect gaming infrastructure? And you get to talk about AI.
Yeah, AI is very cool. And I noticed that last month, Microsoft was licensed to export the NVIDIA chips to the UAE. So in this very competitive environment, AI can bring the key advantages to game companies. AI can make the game much smarter, but also it can bring some complexity to the data infrastructure. So how can we use AI to maximize its value? From my view, the data is the core value of AI. You cannot feed a lot of contents to AI, right? Maybe it can just give you a wrong result. We need accurate and high quality data as input to AI. So the single source of truth is the key. I recommend that we can build the system based on a unified data foundation. So you don't need to split the different data copy across different systems. Maybe they are not match each other, right? We can improve the data quality, so AI can return the accurate answer to you. Yeah, that's what I can see AI impact gaming.
Excellent. Now, Joseph, for founders building in gaming AI or immersive tech, what are the biggest investment mistakes you see, or just mistakes that you think could be avoided? And how, like, if only you knew, or some of the things that you've learned, what would you like to share with them?
I think the biggest thing, I think you touched on it before, and it's about bringing a product in the right time frame to market. I think that's so key, because you can have a fantastic idea, but if it takes you 2 to 3 years to develop it and launch it, by the time you bring it to market, it could be out of date. So I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is ignoring the commercial value of the product. And that makes it quite complicated as well, because, you know, without rushing what you're doing, you also have to deliver something in a timely manner. And again, I'm going to touch on community there, and I think Ashesh said it very well. It's like the more you engage the community, the more mistakes you can make, because they're more forgiving than the investor. So I think that's it. It's like really understanding your community, being realistic as well with what you're trying to make in the time frames you can do it in. And I think, creating as much hype as you can so you can get more forgiveness if you are late on deliverance.
Well said. Marcos, with eSport AI and immersive experiences expanding rapidly, which verticals do you predict will attract the largest capital inflows in the next 5 years?
That's a really good question. I think it all starts and ends with talent. I think more and more the value of talent is going to be seen. So I think there is. It really depends on where the people are going. I think with Abu Dhabi's focus on AI, I think that's probably going to be the biggest. I'm not sure in terms of gaming, because a lot of studios that are producing already, they're kind of set in their ways. They're not really going to change too much in terms of AI. I think it's going to be more the emerging side. It'll be quicker for people to go to market, but I don't really see it as that big. Esports is still, it's still a very difficult business, specifically to turn a big profit. So I would say more and more the indie space is going to get very competitive, but also it's, with the ability to go to market so quickly using these AI tools, I think indie right now is incredibly exciting. I think when you're looking into, publishing indie games, I think the competition right now within publishing is huge, right? They're really looking into, there's really like bidding wars that they're doing as different publishers to try to get these indie games to be able to publish. And I think now, with the ability to self-publish, to go on Steam with the different marketplaces, I think really it's probably the most exciting space. I think that's where you're going to see a lot of investment shifting towards, because I think AAA is going to get very, very, very safe. They're only going to be doing AAA games that are going to generate the return, right? So it's going to be Marvel movies, it's going to be Avengers, it's going to be, tried and true. So I think where people can really take risks in both mechanics and stories, I really don't think that the first game that uses generative AI to interact with the NPCs is going to come from a AAA studio. I think it's going to come from an indie. So that's where I would see probably the most exciting kind of segment would be that indie space.
Excellent. Now, Ashesh, you have trademarked the term superfan at VERO and often describe the chasm between the creators and the fans' social loyalty. Just how big a problem is this for gaming companies' path to success?
I'm going to give some numbers that I think will shock people, but deep down you already knew this. When you look at, and I'm not going to use gaming, I'm going to use FC Barcelona. So FC Barcelona, let's generates a few eyeballs. In fact, they do a lot of work for this company. They didn't know that they work for them, but they work for this company called Meta. And you're going to say for a second, what do you mean? And the answer is, well, they computed that last year, Meta, TikTok, and Google generated $1 billion from the content and activity created by FC Barcelona. FC Barcelona is nowhere near as powerful as the communities in the gaming space. FC Barcelona then paid tens of millions of dollars, you heard me right, didn't get paid tens of millions of dollars to Meta, right? So go to my friend Mark and say, hey, by the way, here's a check so you could let me put an ad in front of my own people. Guys, things are broken. And I'm not the only one saying it. I'm brave enough to say that I think we need to do something seriously dramatic, and I think what we need to do is figure out how these self-publishing, these indie studios, these places can tap into an actual community and say, let's leverage that. And I think it's going to change a lot of things. Social has turned into a billboard you pay for. You are the creators of the eyeballs. You are the generators of the traffic. You are the folks that build the passion, and you are the stability in the economics, the coins, the things that we release. Let's grab that. With VERO, one of the things we did is we're putting that in front of folks. We walked up to actually FC Barcelona, so that's one of our good partners and friends that we're working with, and we took those guys and others and said, wouldn't it be wild if, for example, you could turn around and you could not just earn money from your community, but your community can unlock amazing things. What if you get front row seats? What if you get the game at a black site on May the 4th be with you that you could play 2 months before everybody else? Are you going to do it? Are you going to do Wukong 2 and I'm going to let you know, or you get a character? Are you kidding me? I mean, you're going to pay an extra $60 for the year to do that on a $60 without any question. And if you make loyalty what we call social loyalty, if I could tell you that you posted, you liked, you shared, you did all of those things, you get no reward for today, you get nothing. It is not about coins and things, but you could get status recognition from the people that you love. That changes the game. I mean, that's a whole new world, and that's what we've done, right? That's something I'd love to find more studios, partner with more VCs who really believe in this, because the economics are wild. To give you a sense, 500 million fans can generate 180 million a year in just fan income without anything to do with the game.
Impressive insights. This comes with experience. Thank you. I also want to mention one of the portfolio companies we invested in, Beamable, also has been pushing at the edge of frontier, and they've applied a lot of the different technologies that is available. The Beamable and the team, John, the CEO, leverages Web3 and peer-to-peer to networks to create a Web3 live ops backend for game developers. This allows for more uptime for games and less resilience on centralized networks. It is a great example of a deepen project that combines the power of what Web3 can bring to add value to the gaming world. This is one of the top deepen that have meaningful revenue, proven product market fit. So these are, going back to the question, the type of companies that at Tess Venture we've recently invested in the last 18 months and have supported them through every stage. I just wanted to share some of the different insights and experience that we've had. Now, Jasper, for new entrants into the gaming industry, including startups and investors, what is the key advice you would give?
Yeah, for the new teams or the new investor, my first advice is quite simple. Please treat data capability as a core strength, not something that you can fix later after launching in your game. Yeah, so data is a core wealth of your company. So you can build a scalable data foundation to support your AI game innovation and go globally very smoothly. So please pay attention to build your data foundation. In the use case of our customers, we help our customer to grow their business for 100 times in just 1 year. Yeah, after they migrate their database into our distributed architecture database, so they can focus on their business innovation. Don't need to worry about the limitation of the backend systems. Yeah, that's my advice.
Excellent. Now, Joseph, I'm going to add a question. What regions, besides, of course, we talked a lot about UAE here, Middle East, of course, Silicon Valley, LA, the gaming hub. What regions elsewhere are now becoming serious contenders for entertainment and gaming innovation on this planet?
I'm going to have to talk about Latin America again, just because I'm so involved there. And I think, again, touching on community, it's really about how engaged is that community. And in a lot of esports, Latin America has the most engaged audience. And I think what Ashesh said is actually genius, because it's so untapped as well, and it's like the power is there, but the money is in the States, or the money is in other regions. And I think this is really, I actually learned a lot just listening to you, and I think this has huge potential when you look at it like this. When you look at the power that the communities have and changing how you can monetize them, I think you'll be really onto a huge winner. And I think that's what I looked at, like Peru, for example. It's a great testing ground to do anything in esports because they have such an engaged community. So you can really get good metric data from this region. And I think that's kind of like how I look at it. You have like testing beds where you can test how communities respond. And then, of course, you look into the bigger markets where you can monetize more easily. But I think looking at the whole globe as one, rather than being very specific and being very safe. And I think what Marcus said as well about the AAAs will be very safe, but the next big things will come from indies. And I think whoever can kind of like piece that all together is onto a big winner.
Agree. Well, this concludes our panel, and I think a lot of valuable insights, and feel free, we're going to be around, so love to chat with everyone. Again, thank you to our distinguished panelists, and appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.